Now, our next topic, should Channel migrants be banned from seeking asylum in the UK? 027 862 2222 is the number that you need. So Channel migrants could be banned from claiming asylum in the UK under plans for what's called a one-in, one-out returns deal with France. Now, this comes as a number of migrants crossing the Channel this year has just passed the 20,000 mark so far, which is a new record for the first half of the year. The two countries are preparing to announce a deal where the French take back migrants who have crossed on the dinghies in the Channel in small boats, while the UK in return accepts the similar number of asylum seekers from France. Now, the deal is an attempt to prevent people smuggling gangs by showing that migrants will just simply be returned to France once they reach the UK shores. Now, the 2022 Nationality and Borders Act, introduced by the Conservatives, could be used to ban migrants from gaining asylum in the UK if they've travelled through France, a safe country to which they could be returned. Albie, do you think this is a good idea?
Yes, I think this is a very, very sensible idea. And maybe one of the few good ideas that's come out of Keir Starmer's government. And if they've been able to broker this agreement with the French due to a better working relationship with Emmanuel Macron and his administration, I think that's a good thing. What we've got to remember is this is part of a package to stop people from crossing the Channel, whereby basically anyone who crossed the Channel would be banned from seeking asylum in the UK. They'd be returned to France, where I presume they could seek asylum, and then the UK would take back a similar number of people that they had sent back to France. So I think this is a good idea. Deterrence is going to be the only way that we can stop people from crossing the Channel. Labour ditched the Rwanda plan, so that's now off the table. The Albanians aren't interested in a deal with us, as we saw at that summit a couple of months ago. Very embarrassing for Keir Starmer. So this seems like a sensible step.
Paulette, what do you make of this?
I'm worried about it because I'm not sure it will work. Because we have paid France a lot of money in the past and they just haven't delivered. I have seen scenes where the French police have literally just watched people get into the water and they've still come into England. When they've got here, over 90% of those people, when applying for asylum status, have managed to get their status because they want to be here with family and friends, unless they're economic migrants and there's no reason. And as you can see, Yvette Cooper, Home Office, has returned an awful lot of people. So I have concerns because I just believe that it will not work and it will create other pressures elsewhere. There are more wars, there are other things developing around the world and people are moving at the moment. We've slashed our foreign aid and I am really concerned that if we're just saying one in, one out, we are going to create other routes where people get in, but this time we can't even control it.
But the governments have been successful. The Conservative government, for example, was successful in stopping migrants sneaking onto lorries. That used to be the problem. Before the boats, we were talking about lorries, remember? Now, that was successfully snuffed out by measures taken both in France and in the UK. If you put a flat-out rule that if you land on British soil coming out of a rubber dinghy, you just automatically will not be able to claim asylum. Do you not think that that will have the effect of those gangs? What are they going to have to offer those people? Say, well, actually, the moment you get there, that you're going to be returned to France. So wouldn't that nip that part of the operation in the bud, don't you think?
No.
Why
I don't,
not?
because I truly believe that a large number of those people do have a right to come here.
Sure, and they will be able to do so because so let's say, from what I understand, and again, the details are sketchy, if there's, let's say, a boat with 20 people on it, they are returned, and the UK government says, we will take 20 asylum seekers from France who have family connections with the UK, and they can come to us via France. Legally, we are going to accept their asylum. Essentially, I think the government, what they're trying to do, but they don't want to say it, we're setting up some sort of processing centre in France to take people who have a high chance of winning asylum to the UK.
question when the processes are in place.
Right.
Because currently there are no safe processes in place where people can apply for asylum status anywhere till they get to the shores of the UK. And remember, it's only about 5 or 10% that come that way. Over 90% of the people that come into this country come in through
legal processes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Albie?
People think the numbers of migrants coming into this country, whether or not they're illegal or legal, is too high. Some don't want any small boat migrants to come whatsoever, even if they can claim asylum. They just think that we had over 1 million net migration a couple of years ago. The country's full. All of these people are getting free housing, free healthcare, dentist appointments before I am, and I'm struggling, as we're hearing from some of the callers. They're angry about it. They don't want any of it. And I think we've really got to understand what the British people are thinking when they see the state failing on a scale, which is that we can't even appear to control our borders.
So, Albie, my word would be get the systems in place. Tell us what you're going to do. Tell us how you're going to do it, how you're going to work with Europe, which we have now left because this country didn't want to work with Europe, and then let us see it work. But right now, the system that is in place, I am struggling to see how it will work.
The new with Europe.
At the end of the day, there are places like Spain, there are places like Greece, I think Germany. They're all worried about this system because they feel their numbers will increase. So what it will do, it will put more pressure on them, and they've already got a lot of pressure themselves. So I need to see more detail.
All right, you want to see more detail. Gerard is in the Isle of Wight. Gerard, welcome to the show. Do you think this is a good idea?
Yeah, go on, Alex and panel. Yes, I do. I think, however, the first step is that apparently the gangs use social media to promote this idea of a golden goose utopian UK. We need to do the same thing and make it very clear that anyone who comes here illegally on a boat is automatically refused asylum. They should then be prepared to build detention centres, put these people in until such time as they tell us where they're from, and then we then move forward with that idea. And basically, what I think once you do that, you will stop the boats, not literally, but there will be a dramatic decrease in the amount of people. Now, I would also just like to say that I'm from an immigrant family. My parents came here legally, worked hard, paid their taxes, etc., and got nothing for nothing. So that's my view.
Do you think that opening processing centres, for example, in France or elsewhere, perhaps in Greece, those entry points, Greece, Italy, Spain, are those big entry points into the EU. Do you think opening processing centres there where someone can get to Greece and say, well, actually, I've got family in the UK, I'd like to apply for asylum in the UK, so they don't make that journey, they don't make the boat journey, and the UK government, the Home Office, decides whether or not they qualify for asylum. Would you support something like that?
I think that is a good, I wouldn't even call it a halfway house, but I think that's a relatively good measure. Because I think the problem we've got at the moment is we've got so many people coming in undocumented, don't know where they're from, who they are, what their intentions are, what their history is. And there may have only been a few prominent examples the last few months, but that's more than enough. And we don't know who's coming in. When you come in legally, you're coming with your passport, you're coming from, I don't know, Spain, Colombia, wherever it might be, and you can be checked and processed. I would agree with that general concept.
Okay.
Slow it down and stop that.
Gerard, thank you. Thanks for kicking us off. Patricia's in Norfolk. Patricia, welcome to the show. What do you think of the idea?
Well, I really think that we should stop it altogether.
Well, that's what they're trying to do.
Because the reason why is because we have enough problems with our own people trying to fit them in and give them homes and so forth.
Sure, but Patricia, they're trying to figure out how to disincentivize people who are actually also paying a lot of money, and let's not forget, putting their lives at risk. It is a very dangerous crossing to make. How you can stop that incentive, the people thinking that actually all I need to do is just get there, and if I get there, then I can just apply for asylum. Do you think this won't work? If you just say, look, if you've landed here with a boat, it's kind of what the Conservatives were saying, but they were saying, if you've landed here on a boat, we're going to pick you up and take you to Rwanda. What the the Labour government is saying, if you landed here on a boat, we're going to go straight back to France, but we're only going to be accepting asylum seekers from Europe that have some connection to the UK, one in, one out.
No, I actually think they should just send them to Rwanda.
OK, but the problem, Patricia, with Rwanda was it was quite expensive. And also, let's not forget, I told you in the very beginning, 20,000 people have arrived so far. We're only halfway through the year. Rwanda can only take 200. What are you going to do with the rest of the people? Rwanda's not going to take all of them.
Well, really, we should just send them back.
To where?
Where they came from.
And that's going to be another thing. How do, people will then start coming, and then they'll be acting as if they're mutes. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know where to send them back to. It's going to become quite I'm just sceptical.
OK, thanks, Patricia. Thank you all for your calls on that. Later, it's the papers and everything else. Find out why Britain has fallen behind the Czech Republic in the League of the Funniest Nations.